Hi! This is gonna be my favorite games of the year of 2022. What's that you say? It's April of 2023? You're late? That's true. That's true. So I already did this video in January, the first week of January. But then what happened is that I forgot to upload it. And then after that, I reinstalled Windows. And then I lost the video. And then I also didn't remember what the fuck kind of games I put on my list. So I had to kind of scramble together to try. I don't think this is the ordering of how I did it a few months ago, but it's how I would do it now after thinking. Isn't that funny? And some of these, it's funny as well, because some of these games I actually have more stuff to say about now that it's been a few months, even though this is last year. But anyway, who gives a shit? This is gonna be my personal favorite games of the year of 2022, and I don't have a PlayStation 5, so I didn't play God of War, which would probably be really high, and so would probably, maybe, Horizon be as well. Let's begin. So, again, that last year was weird. If you don't have a PS5, right, last year was kind of weird. Like, there was a few heavy hitters, you know, the big elephant in the room is obviously Elden Ring, you know, as the heavy hitter, right? God of War also being like one of the fucking huge one, right? But if you don't have a PS5, right, there's not a lot of like stuff in between there, right? If you don't have a PS5, it's a lot of indie. There's a lot of like lesser known Nintendo franchises. There's a lot of, you know, it's a lot of indie and in between like that. So it's kind of hard, you know, again, being a gamer that plays fucking everything that comes out. This year is insane. 2023 already. I can make a fucking substantial list of maybe 20 games already in April of this year. Last year was hard, so I did put together a list here of 10 games, but a few of them I don't want to have a list of 9 or 8 games. That's weird. So the 10th one is kind of weird because I don't personally would want to have it on my top 10 favorites, but it's at least at the end of it. So let's just begin. Hey so my number 10 going down the list is Pokemon Scarlet. So hear me out, okay? Don't kill me. So it's, I mean, like, I did play it. I did buy it. That's on me. It's not that I hated the game. Here's the thing, right? It's one of the things. I grew up with Pokemon. I love Pokemon, right? It's a nostalgia thing, of course. I grew up with the original Red Blue, right? I had the Pokemon cards. You know, Pokemon was a big thing of my childhood. Now, fast forwarding to now, I still love Pokemon. I just personally don't like the games. They are so low effort, and I can play so many other turn-based games that just give me such a more expansive experience, a more meaty experience than what Pokemon will ever manage to do. Now, and I know that there is a competitive scene on Pokemon, and that's not something I ever dabble in, right? And the vast majority of Pokemon players that just play the game for fun, and I'm in that, you know, bucket of those players, right? And for those, I would say that Pokemon Scarlet is an absolute just purely average game, looking at it from a game perspective, right? I don't want to, like, there's one thing about, like, how it looks, graphically how it looks. And you could say, oh, it's because the Switch is really underpowered and stuff like that. But I would like to stop you right there for a second, because on the Switch, we have games like Breath of the Wild. We have games like Mario Odyssey. Mario Odyssey is a very pretty looking game that is running at 60 stable FPS. And then we have the most expensive media franchise company ever, Pokemon Company, releasing games looking like this. I don't really think that, like, obviously the Switch is the most underpowered console on the next gen market of modern consoles. Is the most underpowered one, because Nintendo is like, you know, they want the hybrid, they want the more creativity than actually go head to head with Sony, Microsoft, stuff like that. They don't want to do that. They want to do their own thing, which is fair, right? But then you will have a lower powered console. But that does not mean that you cannot make and optimize these games. But here's another thing, right? You will never see, I don't think you will ever see, no matter if the devs want to make these games as good as they possibly can be, right? I don't think that is ever going to happen, right? Because the games need to be released at the same time of the plushies, of the cards, of the anime, right? They have a schedule, right? That they need to, there's like 2 or 3 years. At this time, the game needs to be out. If it's not out then it's gonna be delayed. Everything needs to come out at the same time, and as long as that is still a thing, Pokemon will continue to just be a completely average franchise. And obviously there's things to like about it. Again, if you're like a competitive player and stuff like that, it's a huge player base for that. And then obviously there's a lot to love there. I myself personally, and a lot of people, don't play Pokemon like that. We play them just, you know, for fun, right? We don't ever dabble into the competitive thing. And as a casual Pokemon enjoyer, it's not that I didn't have fun with it, because there's definitely things in there that I think was kind of fun, but it is one of the most average, hollow experiences of a modern game, especially when you consider that it's coming from the fucking Pokemon company. The most, there's just no... In my mind, there is even if you love the game or you hate the game, especially if you love the game, right? You cannot say that there's just any excuse here at all, right? Sure, they need to have everything on a schedule, right? But that doesn't have anything to do with me as a consumer, right? I'm a consumer. I buy a product to get a good product. I buy a product because I want to enjoy said product. I don't buy a half-ass product because the developers need to have a deadline that you know, that makes it harder for them. That has nothing to do with me as a consumer. Sure, it sucks for the developers that they can't like fully realize their vision and stuff like that for the game. But anyway, I can't take this much, you know, I can't talk this much about Pokemon, the 10th game. But I have a lot to say on the game. I think it's okay. But I would personally give Pokemon Scarlet like a 4 or 5 completely average. Not to say that there's stuff that you can't enjoy it, and not to say that I didn't enjoy it. I think there's definitely stuff in there that is fun, but it's a buggy, visually not appealing, super... It's just not a modern game at all. So clear that they're still using the 3DS engine, just upscaled for the Switch, and then that is not working out for them because they just don't have the time, and we're not ever gonna see that, you know. I think as long as they need to have these deadlines set in 2-3 years every time. Anyway, let's go on to the next one, which is Kirby and the Forgotten Land, which is number 9. Wow, Kirby, little pink ball. A lot of people really love this game, and I think it was pretty creative at times, but as a 3D platformer enjoyer, I think it was good. There's nothing wrong with the game, but it was just very safe. I think it's very safe, but Kirby is one of those like game franchises that are supposed to be... It's supposed to be for everyone, right? Everybody is supposed to just pick up the controller and play it and have fun, right? So it's not, you know, it's supposed to ever be hard or anything like that. So, you know, you can't really fault the game for that. It is what it is. That's what the game sets out to be. But for me, I think it was just overly safe. There's some creative ideas there, and I did have a good time, but it's for me, it was pretty forgettable. Some fun challenges. But to me it was pretty much forgettable. I'm glad I played it, but I'd give it like maybe a 7 or 8, which is pretty high. Like an 8 is pretty high for a game, right? But you know, compared to something like, and you can't really compare, you know, I don't want to compare to other 3D platformers, but Kirby has always like been its own entity. It's always sets out to do its own thing, to be that, you know, easy, accessible thing that everybody can just pick up and have fun with, right? It's not supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be just, you know, chill, and you know, and that's what it does. And that's exactly what it does. That's what it sets out to do. It does some creative ideas. It is a good time. You can play co-op with it. Co-op sometimes drops FPS a lot. It's not the smoothest experience. And the camera will always follow the player one. So if you're playing co-op, right, there's no split screen. So if the player one just runs and the other person is behind doing some other thing, right, he's just gonna go off screen. That can be annoying sometimes if you're player two. You have to like sort of move together, or it's just gonna be, you know, but it has co-op. You can use it or you cannot, and the frames drops a little bit, but again, it's a pretty safe game, and it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. There's nothing really wrong with it at all. It's a fun game. it just doesn't really tick all the boxes for me personally, as you know, that I like platformers and stuff like that, right? So I think it was a pretty safe game, but it's fun. But I'm glad I played it, right? And 8 is pretty high for this type of game, I think. It was all around pretty good game. Let's go on to the next one. All right, number 8, which is Cult of the Lamb, which is a very experimental, creative take on the roguelike and also sort of sim builder. Like, it takes a few pages from like some like Animal Crossing, and then yeah, that's about it. And then it has, you know, the roguelike action adventure like kind of gameplay and in between. And there's a lot of really fun micromanagement things in between there. It has a very fun system where, because I streamed it a little bit, and it has like a very fun Twitch integration system where you can like name your viewers and they can pick they get a prompt on the screen, they can pick how they look, and it creates like very fun scenarios and stuff like that. So it, at its core, it's a very creative like take on the indie or the roguelike genre. It's an indie game, but it's very, very good. And I think that anyone who is a fan of roguelikes should pick this game up. It's very, very good. And it's very creative. It can sometimes be a little too much on the micromanagement, and you need to do a lot of things, and you need to, every single run after, you need to check a lot of boxes and do a lot of, you know, check with every villager and sort of min-max a lot. But that's sort of, you know, that's sort of what give and take when you mesh sort of two kind of genres with like the sim thing and also the roguelike. It's really good. It's really good. And if you're a fan of like any or both of, you know, those things, you're gonna love this game, and I like it a lot. It's only 8th here, but don't take that as a like. You can take 10 Pokemon being kind of low, but don't take 8 as being low. The rest of the games for me, I just really enjoyed. So Cult of the Lamb, really fucking good, and I love roguelikes. That's one of my favorite game genres. Maybe even not if my favorite game genre. So there it is. But okay, let's keep it going. This is another weird one. Okay, so there's one genre, again, I like roguelikes, right? There's another genre that I really, really like, which is card games, right? Hearthstone. Well, I used to love Hearthstone, you know, back in the classic days, you know, and Max Ramos and then, you know, that, but I don't really play it anymore because I think it lost its whatever, right? I like card, especially when you mix them, right? When you mix the roguelike and the card game, you get like Slay the Spire, you get Monster Train, that sort of mechanics. Oh my god. Anyway, the next one is gonna be, oh boy, it's Marvel Snap. Now, this is what I said earlier in the video, that if I did this one in January like I didn't really have too much to say about this one because I hadn't played it too much at that point. Now I have. Played it for the first time last year in October, and I've played on and off. Up until now, I have, across playing it, let's see here, 89.9 hours, 90 hours on PC, and probably around 150 hours on phone. So I'm about 200 and give or take plus up hours on, you know, all in all together. And it's a fun game. It's a fun game. It's fun. I like it. I like collecting cards. I haven't spent any money on it whatsoever. That's a lie, because I did buy one battle pass, but I haven't, and I'm on the collection level 3,500 as of today. I log on, I do dailies, I play some of my decks, I log back out, and it's been fun. I think it's a really good game, and it's Ben Brode, which was the lead developer of Hearthstone, and he took. I just think the lane system that they have. So I don't think I've always been under the assumption that Hearthstone and games like this that have too many RNG mechanics and cards that produces cards, and they produces random effects and random cards, and one card can produce a random card, and then the next card can produce another random effect, and then that effect can produce another random, you know, it's just random upon random. You have board effects that randomly can kill everything or not kill everything. Like, there's a lot of stupid shit. That's why I don't ever think that these games are meant to be competitive, no matter how much that Hearthstone World Cup and Blizzard pushed out competitive scene for that. It's fun to watch, right, as a viewer, because you never know what's going to happen, regardless if a player is really good or not. And not to say that there aren't good players and the best player in like a top 5, and because there has been cases where considered best players have won consistently several tournaments. So there's not to say that there aren't skill in these games, because there absolutely is. We don't want to take away from the players that actually play and get good at these games, right? But at the same time, sometimes even if they play the best that they can play, they do the best, they read their opponent, they do the best moves, they actually demolish their opponent, and then the opponent does he knows he's losing, so he's just gonna go with a 50-50 either, and then from there he wins the 50-50, and then from there he wins the game randomly, right? That can happen, and that has happened, and that happens all the time. And my rant about this is why I think that Marble Snap will never be a competitive game. And it shouldn't be, because the lane system is completely random. Whatever archetype of deck you play, sometimes you will just get shit on. You play a move deck, and suddenly there's a lane that says, if a card moves there, it gets destroyed. You lost that game, right? That shit will just happen, right? But that's the fun of it, right? Every single game is different. Even if there is a meta deck, right? There's a meta that says Galactus and Null and Death or whatever, which is fucking annoying when you meet up against it, because it doesn't really matter what you play. I hate Galactus. It doesn't really matter, because every game will inherently, you might still lose because there's a lot of really fucking bullshit, cards at the highest card pool. But it's really fun because it keeps refreshing. Say you play Hearthstone at the highest level, right? At the highest legend rank, right? You're gonna see the same 3 decks played over and over. There's not a lot. Some people might switch one card for another, but that's about it, right? It's the same shit. In this game, it's the same shit again, because these cards and decks will be super similar, but you have that thing where with the lanes that keeps changing, and there's a lot of lanes to keep adding lanes, so that is sort of the fresh mechanic here, and that is why I think Marble Snap is so good, and it's really fun, because it takes this system that we like from like Runeterra, Hearthstone, and then it just keeps adding fresh elements to it. Sometimes it's really bullshit, and sometimes it's why, oh, that lane is so good for me because I'm playing on reveal and this will double my on reveal, right? That's super good. And then so it just creates, you can, like, if lanes were always empty, you would always just play one way, right? You would just play, okay, nah, whatever. There's no strategy. You're just playing the cards. As you play the 1 here, you play the 2 here. Oh, he played a 3 here. Okay, then I'll play a 4 here. There's just no strategy. But when there's random effects, it becomes a very, very fresh new experience within this, type of digital card game format, which is I think is really fun. It's a mobile game, and I'm not the biggest mobile gamer, but even though I have played most of my hours on phone, this is just a good game. And I can't wait for the widescreen on the PC, update to come out, so that we will, because there's still a lot of features on phone we don't have on PC and stuff like that. Anyway, let's not talk about a mobile game for the rest of this and card games, but Marble Snap is fun. It's fun. Just card games and stuff like that. It's not for everyone, but if you played Runeterra, if you played Hearthstone, stuff like, especially if you played Hearthstone, you're gonna love this. If you played Runeterra and you're looking for, or Gwent, the lane mechanic is fun and fresh, and you might enjoy it a lot. I think give it a shot. I think it's good. I think it's very good, and also it's very, very rewarding for free-to-play players. A lot of the super rare cards at the end of it, you're not gonna see those for a long time, but you will. The reward structure is good enough, and you don't have to spend any fucking money on this game. And I haven't. I paid for 1 battle pass ever, and I'm sitting here pretty good. Albeit I have almost 200 hours in the game, right? But yeah, it's good. It's good. Anyway, let's continue. Tiny Tina's Wonderland, which is the new Borderland kind of spin-off game with Tiny Tina. Takes Dungeons and Dragons elements and mashes it with Borderlands. And I just gotta say that I think I didn't play Borderlands 3, because I heard a lot of Borderlands 2, I love Borderlands 2. I played the pre-sequels. I wasn't very satisfied with it. And then a lot of my friends played Borderlands 3, and then they said it was kind of disappointing. So I just ended up not playing it. Usually I like to play games for myself to see if I like them or not, because a lot of the time, you know, I will like something someone else doesn't like, but there was just such an overwhelming amount of people who I sort of share opinions with that didn't love Borderlands 2 like me, but they don't like Borderlands 3. So I skipped it. And then I was kind of looking forward to Tiny Tina. And I played that game for about 70 hours. I played through the story. It's fun. It's just like, you know how in 3 in pre-sequel, the jokes they don't really land, right? It's kind of cringe. It's kind of like too much. It's trying to be a little bit too goofy in the arms and legs. In Tiny Tina, the jokes actually land. Well, that's, you know, for some people it might, but for me it absolutely landed. A lot of these jokes were actually really funny writing, and it reminds me a lot of Borderlands 2, where the writing was at least a little better, and the jokes actually landed a little more than it did in pre-sequel and 3. And then although I didn't play 3 myself, I have seen like a playthrough of it, so I know the story and stuff like that. I just didn't mess around with builds and stuff and endgame which is the sort of the stuff I like. I didn't really spend too much time in the endgame because again I played it alone, so I played 2 playthroughs, and I thought it was just great. And there's I know there's DLCs and stuff out now, which probably makes the game better. I haven't checked in with the game in a while. And I played it on Epic Games when it came out because it was an timed exclusive. Now I know it's on Steam. I wish all games would just be on Steam. I hate Epic Games. Well, I don't hate it, but I just like to have all of my games in one place. It's annoying how there's so many. Can we stop it with the launchers? Stop it. Anyway, Tiny Tina. It's Borderlands, but with Dungeons and Dragons, and it's really fun. And the writing and the humor and the jokes they hit. It's funny, it's witty, and you shoot people in the face with elemental weapons. Good game. Next one is Vampire Survivors, and I would probably think that if you played this game is probably also on your list. I think this one, especially if you like roguelikes and just games in general. This game has been talked about, you know, it's been done to death, right? Like everybody's talked about this game. There's been documentaries, no clips done. You know, this game become. It was just supposed to be a one-man team project, right? And it just fucking blew up. And it's just from Vampire Survivors alone, it created a genre. And now everyone's doing this. You know, sort of like. Collect the XP and build and walk around. What kind of genre is it? Auto level up rogue? I don't know. What would you call that kind of genre? But it's really fun. And I have almost every single achievement, and I have played it to death, and I love that game. It's really, really good, and it's really creative. And there's so many ways to play it. There's so many ways to experiment, and they have been really creative with upgrades and how there's a lot of really just wild stuff that can happen in the game. There's some you know, like what's it called? I forgot, doesn't matter. But it's really good, and I would recommend, if you like roguelikes, again, just like Cult of the Lamb, play this game. Like, do yourself a favor. It's like $2, I think. $2. Play it. It might even be less than $2. It's like one something. Anyway, play the game. It's good, but it's like I can't, like, this game. Everybody's been talking about it. I can't really add too much. That, you know. To be honest, now that I'm making this video in April, there's not really a lot I can add to any of this that hasn't already been said because I'm so late with this. But fuck it, I want to talk about video games. So that's what I'm gonna do. And let's just continue, right? Okay, so here's a funny one, right? This one's funny. You know how we started with Pokemon Scarlet, which came out in, I think, November, and I played it, and it was, again, I said the things that I said in the start of the video. Well, now here's the next one, right? Pokemon Legends Arceus. Arceus is funny. Because I don't know if it's actually... Is it Arceus? Arceus is funny because it sounds like arse. It doesn't even sound like it. That's what you're saying. You're saying ours. Whatever. That's a good game. I liked it. Again, not for everyone, but if there's one Pokemon game that came out in the past 10 years, this is the one I like the most. I 100%, believe it or not, completed this one. That's how much I loved it. It's not perfect. It still looks like shit. The FPS is all over the place. All of that is still here. The you know, the Pokemon Company's flair, you know, their trademark, you know, feature is still here with having a world that looks like muddy shit and frame rate that runs worse than 64. But I liked it. It was a new take on Pokemon that isn't even, you know, groundbreaking or anything, but it was new enough for me that I actually enjoyed it. Because one thing that, which is, I'm going off on a tangent, but bear with me. One thing that I don't really like too much about, first of all, is that the games, you know, they don't even fucking function. That's number one. But another thing that I don't really like too much about modern main game Pokemon games is that there's too much fucking talking. There's talking with these super uninteresting Pokemon characters that I don't give a flying fuck about, that are one-off characters. You do something with them and you never see them again and they don't reappear in the next game. I just don't give a flying fuck. They're the most uninteresting, most just boring writing. I don't give a shit. The reason I play Pokemon games are for the Pokemon. The Pokemon should be front and center. Sure, somebody can give you some objectives. Hey, that's the person. You see that over there? Go there. Peace out, right? That's all I need to know, okay? It's a Pokemon game. We played for Pokemon. We don't play it for people. We play for Pokemon, right? That's the reason. And that's why I like Pokemon Legends Arceus, because it's way more sandboxy in the way that you don't really have these objectives and people and whatever. It's you on an adventure, and you're doing stuff in the Pokemon world, and that's one aspect that I hope the mainline Pokemon games do. And they did some of that in Pokemon Scarlet, but not enough for me to kind of like it. But it's weird, right? I'm putting Pokemon Legends Arceus at 4, right? Above Vampire Survivors, above Tiny Tina's Wonderland, above Cult of the Lamb, right? That's how much I loved it. Is it perfect? Nah. Is it a game for everyone? Nah. But I personally did like it a lot because I love Pokemon. I really like it. I grew up with Pokemon and I still love it and I want to love it, but it's really hard for me because the games suck. Like, I like Pokemon, but I don't like the games, and the games are what brought me into the Pokemon sphere, I guess, right? But Legends put me into it, and I hope we get a follow-up to that and that this, I hope that Arceus sort of creates a new mainline. I want an Arceus 2, is what I'm trying to say. I hope they keep doing this spin-off thing and just keeps building upon that, because if we can have every other release be one of those and then a mainline, I will probably never pick up another Pokemon mainline game ever again and just go with these. If they keep innovating with it, because if it's just the same thing again, then, you know, which is what Pokemon are known to do, it's gonna be annoying. But you know, I liked it, and I 100% completed it, and I put over 100 hours, maybe like 120 or something like that, I think. Good game. I liked it. Not for everyone, but it was for me. And if you are like me, then you will like it. Are you like me? I don't know. Let's continue. Number 3. Triangle Strategy. Now this one's weird because I quit that game because the intro sequence of that game and the setting up the story and then just world building, and there's a lot of characters, there's a lot of talking, there's a lot of character introductions, there's a lot of world building, setting up, and that the intro sequence of the game is exhausting. It's really exhausting, and it lasted for like 3 or 4 hours. And I quit because I got so bored, but then 1 week later I came back and said, fuck it, I'm gonna continue. And am I glad that I did? Because when that is over and when you actually have an understanding of the world and the story starts and the gameplay starts, it is a fantastic game. The story is absolutely phenomenal. You actually have some choices in the game that feel extremely important, and that actually changes a lot of things in the game, which is what you like to see in RPG games. It's really good. It's made by the same team that made Octopath Traveler. One thing that I was a little... This is not something you can really take away from the game, right? The music in the game is pretty good, but Octopath Traveler, which is another game that I played to completion, the music in that game is incredible. There's not a single bad song in Octopath Traveler. It's so fucking good. They don't have the same composer in Triangle Strategy, so the music didn't hit the same way, and I hoped it would. But, you know, that's, you know, the music is still good, though. It's just not like Octopath Traveler. But the game in it is really good. And it has some really important, you know, you have to make some decision making, and there's some really good story that has some dark elements, and, you know, really focuses on some pretty dark shit. Yeah, it's pretty good. And the gameplay is really good, and likable characters, likable cast. You kind of have to like, it's, you know, kind of like Fire Emblem, right? That's what this game is compared to Octopath, which is more, you know, traditional JRPG. But you like Fire Emblem, or you sort of you're just a sucker for, you know, good storytelling, or you like RPGs where you have to make important decisions that can completely change the entire world, and you know, characters and everything will just change, and you know, in either really bad ways or good ways, and it's just really good. I liked it a lot, and I'm super happy that I picked it up again and replayed it, or continued, I mean. Just all around fucking amazing game. And now, again, that I'm making this video in April, and not earlier this year, right after the last year, which I'm making, you know, whatever. Now we actually also know that Octopath Traveler 2 is on the way, and not even on the way anymore because the game is out. and in Octopath Traveler 2, you have the same composer from Octopath Traveler 1. So that's a big plus for me, baby. Anyway, don't really have too much more to say about it. It's a good ass game, and so is the next one on this tiny little cute little list, and that is Xenoblade Chronicles number 3. Now, I have played Xenoblade Chronicles 1 4 times to completion, because I played it 3 times on the Wii. It came out in 2011 or 12. I don't remember. 10? I played it 2 times, and then I played it a 3rd time. And then I played the Xenoblade Definitive Edition on the Switch. And then I also played Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And then I played Xenoblade Chronicles 3 when it came out. I played it on launch day, and I just couldn't put it down until I was finished. Xenoblade Chronicles 1 is one of my favorite games of all time. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is also an extremely super good game, but it doesn't for me. I know a lot of people prefer 2 to 1. I prefer 1 to 2, and by a pretty substantial margin. I'm not going to get into that. But 3, though, is absolutely phenomenal. There's so much content in the world. It can feel absolutely overwhelming if you have OCD like me and you need to go to and do everything, and you know, oh my god, there's so much content in the game. There's so much build variety. There's so many characters. There's so much stuff to unlock. There's so much. This is just for what you're paying here. Even if this game was $80, which I hope games don't turn out to be that expensive in here. Oh god. But, you know, there's a lot of content. You know, that's the one thing that's good about JRPGs, right? When it comes to, you know, Japanese RPGs, you get your money's worth. Because the campaigns are most of the time 80 plus hours, just the campaign alone, right? And then you take into consideration there's side quests and build strategy and a lot of extra shit in the world, and you on average a lot of people play like 100 plus hours with any JRPG ever, right? And this one is no exception, because Xenoblade Chronicles 3, I 100% completed that game, and I even killed the last super boss of the game. I killed all the super bosses. I haven't touched the DLCs yet, even though I have the expansion pass, but I haven't touched them yet, because there's so many fucking games releasing this year, and I'm still scrambling to get through them before I go back to my backlog, which will probably never happen. Rest in peace, backlog. But Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is just like, it's so fucking good. If you like RPGs with a lot of builds and strategy and just good combat system, it can be confusing at times. It starts very easy, and it starts dumping one system at a time. And then when you're halfway through the game and you have all the systems, combined, and you've found the characters you like using, and you're switching between the builds of all the characters, and you're using all the systems, and my god, what a just insanely well-made combat system that is so much fun to use and just so incredibly creative. How did they come up with this shit? How do they keep doing this? And I love it. I absolutely love it. And the world is fun to explore. It's so huge. There's a lot of nods to Xenoblade just 1 and 2. It's sort of like a worlds colliding sort of storyline. And yeah, it's just all around super good. And don't really think I have too much more to say. I mean, I have a lot more to say about it, but I don't want the video to be too long, because it's already probably, I don't have a timer, but it's probably too fucking long already. But yeah, no, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is my second favorite game of last year, and it would have been number 1 if not for, and everybody knows, it's Elden Ring. Elden Ring is my favorite game of the year, and it's not even fucking close. Now, again, right, I didn't have a PS5, so I didn't play God of War Ragnarok, which I think honestly, if I played that game without knowing, right, it could have been maybe higher or lower, but I think that would have probably been my number 2, because I loved God of War 2018 so much when I played that on PS4 Pro. Oh my god, what a good game. And the cliffhanger, Jesus Christ, right? So I didn't play that, so I think that would have probably been number 2. Maybe not. Maybe Xenoblade would still be there, but I didn't play that, right? So, but Elden Ring is just a clear winner. It's not close, no matter what comes out or doesn't come out. It's just the best game I have ever played in my life. It's my favorite game of all time. Now that one's a little closer. There's games that are, for me, that are pretty close to it on the scale of what I like and what the games that I enjoyed. But Elden Ring is just like, and I'm not gonna talk too much about Elden Ring, because everybody knows what Elden Ring is. Everybody and their grandmother has played Elden Ring. I have. Let me click on Elden Ring on Steam. I have 352.2 hours and every single achievement unlocked, and I love that game to death. I have 7-8 builds. I never really do too much PvP, but I just play PvE, and I have like 7 completely over-leveled characters that are in creative builds, and I love the game so much. And I cannot wait for Shadow of the Erdtree, which is going to be the DLC that we don't really have a release date on. Could be later this year, or it could be next year, but probably next year. Who knows? But yeah, I'm not gonna talk about Elden Ring. Everybody knows what Elden Ring is. Everybody played it. We all know. It's just fucking good. What can you say? One game of the year. It's fucking, yeah, of course it did. Is anybody surprised? Now, instead of talking about Elden Ring, which is my favorite game of all time and also my favorite game of last year, which would make sense in that sentence and in that context, but let's instead talk about my 2 honorable mentions, which is number 1, not a game that released officially. Well, it did, but it's a port of Monster Hunter Rise and Sunbreak, which is fucking good, and I love it so much. I played it to death on the Switch, which was the only place it was available on. And when it came to PC, I double dipped because I wanted 60 FPS and I wanted the game to look a little better. And it does, and it's so good. And Sunbreak is probably one of the best expansions I've ever played. But I think that one still goes to best expansion I've ever played. Still goes to The Witcher 3: Blood and Wine, and that's not even close because it's so good. But yeah, PC version, PC port of Monster Hunter Rise. That's an honorable mention. I loved it. And then another. This is not okay. So I don't know. What do I call this? I wouldn't call this an honorable mention. I would call this one a dishonorable mention. Overwatch 2, or as we all like to call it, 1.5 came out, and the thing is that Overwatch for me is still fun, but it doesn't really. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. Like, it is so extreme, and I'm not gonna touch on this tangent for too long, but I need to. Okay, when I'm here, I can't stop. Okay, it's so extremely clear to everyone that Overwatch 2 is just an excuse to put predatory monetization on the game, because the reason is the thing is that because the game is full price, or not full price, but because the game has an asking price of, like, a front of asking price. I think it was $40 or $50 for the game, right? The game got in trouble for predatory monetization and loot boxes and stuff like that, but as a free-to-play game, you're in the go. You're in the clear of that. So it's so clear to everyone that they removed the price tag from the game to make it free-to-play is not fundamentally to make a better game. It's fundamentally from the ground up, and it's so clear that the reason 2 even exists is to monetize it in a way they couldn't do when there was a price tag on the game. A battle pass, and also having item shop like Fortnite and all of this, it's there now because they couldn't before with the price tag. But now they can, and that's why you have Overwatch 2. Is the game better? Probably, yeah. Yeah, I liked it. I like Overwatch, right? But is this like this is not a thing about. The thing here is not saying that do you like Overwatch or not. I love Overwatch, right? But the thing here we need to talk about is that is this worthy of being called a sequel? And when you take into consideration what this offers as a sequel and what the reason it became a sequel, when you think about everything as a whole, it's very apparent that Blizzard is dead. The Blizzard that I knew and grew up with is completely fucking dead. Jeff Kaplan, we miss you. I love you. It's all dead. It's all dead. At least Dragonflight is doing good, right? Diablo 4 looks also really good. But Blizzard is just a hollow shell of its former self, and Activision has completely devoured, puts its poisonous fangs into Blizzard, and it shows. And that's why you have this, which is a lot of speculation in the things that I'm saying, but come on, right? Come on. Like, what else, right? Overwatch 1 got into so much trouble, and they had to remove loot boxes from certain countries because they got into legal trouble with it, and they waited so much fire for having predatory shit in the game, right? And then they removed the price tag, and everybody's confused about what is in the sequel. The thing that was going to make the sequel was the campaign and stuff. And then the game releases, and that's not even in the game. It's kind of the same game. So the only thing that's really different is that now there's an item shop, there's a battle pass, and now there's an excuse, and they're legally allowed to, in most countries they weren't before, to put in a lot of predatory monetization, which you can't even call it predatory anymore, right? You can't call every free-to-play game that does skins and stuff, you can't call it predatory. But the way I would call it predatory is when you create a game and it's like this, but then you remove it, and then you say, hey, here's the new game. Here's the sequel. Here's the better. Here's the improved. But then it's not improved. It's just an excuse. It's just a diversion wrapped in monetization. And that's it. That's what the game is. Anyway, that was a fucking weird note to end on my top games of the year. Let's recap, okay? Number 10, Pokemon Scarlet. Again, boo. Number 9, Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Pretty good. Number 8, Cult of the Lamb. Pretty good. Number 7, Marvel Snap. Pretty good. Number 6, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. I liked it a lot. Number 5, Vampire Survivors. Hey. Number 4, Pokemon Legends Arceus. Pretty good. Number 3, Triangle Strategy. Yeah. Number 2, Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Yeah. And number 1, Elden Ring. I got a boner. That's it. That's the video. I don't have a timer because I'm recording this in OBS. But I would probably imagine that this video is way too fucking long. It's gonna be way too fucking unstructured. I'm going off on way too many tangents. And this video is just gonna be a complete mess. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. I love you. Please see you later. Goodbye. Next time, see you all. Bye-bye.